Emboar finally gets a Mega Evolution in Pokemon Legends Z8. Mega Emboar jumps from 123 attack to 148 base attack. It also gets a 10 base increase in its defense, special attack, and speed. And then they said, let's pour this all into special defense because that is what Emboar needs. Sarcasm aside, these stat changes might actually be great for Emboar from a competitive standpoint. So let's talk about it. So Emboar finally gets a Mega Evolution, and I have some mixed feelings about it. I do think there are ways that this Pokemon can be absolutely incredible, and I think there's ways that this Pokemon can kind of flop, kind of like Emboar. So let's talk a little bit about Emboar compared to Mega Emboar. If you guys do enjoy these videos, let me know. Feel free to let me know your thoughts as well down below. So Emboar, 123 attack, 65 defense, 100 special attack, 65 special defense, 65 speed. So what would you do to fix Emboar, right? When you Mega Evolve it? Well, the immediate one is buff its speed, buff its special attack, buff its attack, because Emboar is a fire fighting type, but it is unlike the other fire fighting types. By that I mean it's slow. Even Blaziken got Mega Speed Boost. Like, it got Speed Boost naturally, and then they said, okay, let's give it to its Mega because that's super broken. But then we look at Mega Emboar. Now, Mega Emboar did get a pretty nice buff to its attack. Goes from base 125 to base 148, so not a terrible increase at all. 123, excuse me, to base 148, so 25 increase. And then we do have plus 10 defense. Again, not terrible. You still have a lot to work with. They decided to give it plus 10 special attack. I guess I'll say this fact that most people know, but Emboar is one of the few Pokemon that learns Scald that is not a water type. So that's cool. I don't think that's necessary at all in Emboar. And in fact, I think mixed Emboars are better with Life Orb. So we'll talk a little about that as well. And then it got 110 special defense. What? They said no. Ignore this 65. We're going right to 110. I'll talk about that 110 special defense boost because it's actually pretty good for Emboar. But the bad part is they only buffed its speed to base 75 from base 65. Now, this is a decent speed tier, but Emboar is a wall breaker, right? Regular Emboar is a wall breaker. You're going to put your Choice Band on it. You're going to put your Life Orb on it. You're going to put the leftovers, bulk up Trailblaze if you're playing random battles and Terra and everything. But obviously Mega Emboar will not be able to Terrasilize. Or we assume that Mega Emboar will not be able to Terrasilize because, oh my gosh, Pokemon Champion's giving us that. That'd be crazy. So the speed increase is actually nice because you actually can outspeed threats when you're at +1. For example, Mega Lopunny below gets outsped, hit 409 speed. On top of that, you're also faster than Pokemon like Adamant regular Dragonite and the just basically Adamant base 80s, like the non-speed boosting nature base 80s. So it's a pretty cool speed tier as well, especially for like a bulk up Trailblaze set. My thing with Emboar is that, as I mentioned, it's still relatively slow, and you kind of took away its biggest thing, which was it can't run a choice item. So if it wants to run a choice item, or if it wants to run a Life Orb for the added power, which is way stronger than 148 base attack, by the way, the multipliers of Life Orb and Choice Band are way stronger than increasing its attack stat. Sorry, it's at 31 right here. Than increasing its attack stat just slightly. But the special defense boost is really interesting because one interesting calc that comes to mind is that Specs Dragapult Shadow Ball only does 49% maximum. So that's a pretty cool calc for this because it can actually come in on Pokemon like that, and even like Golden Go non-specs is only doing about 40%, so it makes it way bulkier. And I can just show you the comparison of like 65, whereas Golden Go was cleanly 2-hit KOing you. So I think that's a really interesting one because it does give you the ability to switch in this Pokemon a little bit more. And I put Bulk Up here because Bulk Up sounds really nice compared with the 75 defense. My thing with Emboar is that I think it's not an ability it needs. I think it's going to be like a signature move. Sort of similar how we got like Ceaseless Ledge and all that stuff, Triple Arrows, Infernal Parade. Hopefully not Infernal Parade, though. That's like the objectively worst of the three, right? Ceaseless Ledge being the top. Technically, Triple Arrows is broken. It's just on a slow Pokemon that can't really do much with it, kind of like how Emboar. So what I really want from Mega Emboar is I want Mega Emboar to, can you just give me this so I can just put, let me put a physical move here. That way they stop lowering my attack. What I really want for Emboar is, if you didn't know, Mega Emboar actually has like a Javelin / Spear, whatever, for like the warrior type. It is like a warrior style Pokemon. And what I really want is, I would love a fire type priority move, kind of similar to Thunderclap or Sucker Punch, because then you can focus more on your attack and your HP and your speed up investment, not really have to worry too much about the speed. Because if your stab move, right, is going for before your opponent most of the time, like that makes a big difference. And like the Pokemon that resist it, Pokemon that come to mind are like obviously dragon types like Dragapult, but Emboar has Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch easily destroys it at +1. So like I would love it to have something like to make use of this added special defense. If you can't beat them, join them, right? Make use of this added special defense and be able to do like a bulk up Drain Punch I'm gonna call it Flame Charge, but like Flame Chuck, Flame Spear, whatever. Flame Charge just works. I think Flame Charge should have been a priority move. I also think Flame Charge should basically Rapid Spin. I think that Trailblaze and Flame Charge should be buffed how Rapid Spin was buffed to a 50 base power. It raises the speed. Why not just make them Rapid Spin? Because then it gives hazards like an FU to hazards, but also it means that heavy duty boots aren't as good either because people wouldn't run them as much because you can deal with hazards too much, in my opinion. But anyway, so let's just put Thunderclap here. Whatever, let's put Thunderclap here just so it could be a priority move. Gosh, that does not clap. All right, so just so you can show it, because the Flame Charge is messing me up. And then your last move will be whatever, right? Sucker. I like Sucker. I like double priority plus this. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be Thunderclap-esque. It could be like Jet Punch in a sense, where it's or even Extreme Speed, right? 80 base power. I think 60 would be a little bit more fair. But where it's a priority move that you can actually go for and throw off, but you still make use of your overall bulk. Because like at +1 with 75 defense, you are taking Landorus's Earthquake. Not like the best, but you're still taking Landorus's Earthquake. You also naturally take Earth Power as well because of your speed effort increase, but I'll make it jolly to show you. I had all these calcs open, but I had them last night. Like, you do tank Landorus's Earthquake, and this is like no bulk, right? I assume that on Emboar, if you're not running the Speedy Breaker, it's a little tough to justify using this Mon as a firefighting Mega when Blaziken obviously exists, but Blaziken would most likely go away, Mega Blaziken, and most likely be banned. But like as a physical fighting type, it's just really tough to justify it over some of the other Megas. Obviously, I've talked about Lopunny before, which is probably like peak when it comes to Mega. Maybe it actually gets worse. But then even Phalanx is like faster, and technically the no retreat makes it stronger as well in a sense. I'm talking about Mega Phalanx, obviously. And in this case, like it's you need to give it something that makes it useful. Right, I think it'll be a fine lower tier Pokemon. I think it'll actually be really annoying to take down in lower tiers because I think you can mess around with this Pokemon just because it's added bulk. Like I'm sure as ZURU isn't ready. That was crazy on the Victory Bell video. You guys are hating, but like something like this is actually incredibly viable. Just I think not in the OU tier, right? And let's just assume it doesn't. Let's assume it doesn't get a fire type priority move, right? You probably run like Heat Crash or something like that if you can, or Flame Charge if you really want to. But let's just assume Heat Crash from here, assuming this guy got way heavier. Yeah, I'm just gonna put Flare Blitz here because Mega Emboar is not that heavy either. It's less than 400 pounds. Light. It'd be like one of those YouTube shorts that'd be like this little guy when the dude is like massive. But I feel like this would be something that Emboar would want. In terms of abilities for Emboar, people are talking about Supreme Overlord, which I think is interesting. Emboar already has Reckless. I would love that to be changed to Rockhead, but it doesn't have a Rockhead. But you want to basically it's not a Suing Arcanine, right? But you want it to be able to click Flare Blitz without recoil. You want it to be able to click Wild Charge without recoil, things like that. And we already gave it access to close combat this generation as well. I think it does have potential again for the bulk up sets. I think that this will be super low tier though, not super, but like RU, viable in UU. I think that this is kind of like this was going to be what makes it tough to beat because this thing was. Let me think of one of these stronger, like the strong. Let's put a Choice Specs Raging Bolt, right? Just as an example, right? Let's put Choice Specs Raging Bolt. Like Draco, that's not even HP invested. Like bro, Draco does 58 to 68, which is crazy. A Specs Thunderbolt from Modest Raging Bolt doesn't even two-shot, right? So this is a good defensive stat, and it's really changing how Emboar is played because again, unless you're playing random battles with leftovers in that Trailblaze set, you're typically gonna want to use Banded or Life Orb mixed. Speaking of Life Orb mixed, you do make Grass Knot a little bit stronger. Again, it's still without Life Orb. We can't run heavy duty boots, can't run anything like that. So you're still, it might still be worse than a regular Emboar in that case. But the Trailblaze set does get a little bit better as well. Like I said, just in general, maybe not the bulk up one from that, but like offensive, it does get better. I guess you could still technically use Flame Charge or Trailblaze or whatever, and then Fire Move if you really want to. Like something like this is still probably fine because you're still going to do massive damage to a Pokemon like Gliscor, especially because next metagame we're most likely not going to have Terra, unless it's on Champions meta where you're able to Terrastalize and use Megas as well. And like max HP Gliscor, 36 defense, just standard Spidef Gliscor is taking 88 to 103, so that's like really nice damage. Whereas your Earthquake, whoops, I gave it early bird for whatever reason. Whereas your Earthquake is doing 41 to 48% at +1. So this is max HP though. Let me get rid of that. Your Earthquake is doing 48 to 41%. So like even you can go +2 in front of this thing. Take only like you go for the first one as it comes in because you're also faster naturally than defensive Gliscor, which is something interesting that, you know, regular Emboar didn't have too much unless it was running max speed. And honestly, max speed plus Jolly, I don't know about Jolly nature, but running more than its adamant nature would normally run with 65 speed. Because you see your 229 here, Gliscor doesn't need that much. So if it ran even a little bit, it was always faster. But let me get rid of Reckless right here. You're still doing at plus 180 to 95%. And if you go plus 2, like, you're obviously obliterating it. So I do feel like that does have some viability here. Again, the Supreme Overlord is really interesting. I don't think it's a bad ability by any means. I do really want to see, though, some sort of priority fire for it. I feel like that's going to be the thing that actually makes Emboar viable in higher tiers. But its overall bulk is cool, and its ability to set up is nice. It just kind of suffers from the same thing as regular Emboar, whereas you're killing yourself with your strong moves, Flare Blitz, right? Your strong move. You're weaker than regular Emboar. Hisuian Arcanine has a niche over you because it's literally a fire type with Rock Head and a priority move, which is what I want from this mon, without Rock Head, which is what I want from this mon. But the bulk up defensive sets are the things that seem to have some type of viability. So let me know your thoughts down below. Also, if y'all didn't know, we do have merch available. If you ever use code AIM, there's only 100 of each. There's probably like 50 of them left. So if you want to pick up the hoodies, we got the Mega Dragonite, we got the Mega Greninja, we got the Mega Victory Bell as well, which I'm kind of blocking right there. This one looks sick though with the pink. But also, if you want to pick up my stainless steel ice shaker, feel free to use code AIM, 10% off. If you get anything caffeinated from this site, 18+, but all this is hydration. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. That's it. Let me know your thoughts on Mega Emboar. I think it has potential, but it just needs a little bit. The Spadef raise, though, it's going to make Emboar play differently. So I'm kind of excited for that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.